What's up, everybody? We are back with a bonus clip from the factory tour. I've still got Mike here, Dynasty Zoltan, ready to talk a little bit more about the running back position with you. We're going to actually do a little bit of predicting here today, talking about next year's Dynasty RB1s. So, who's going to be ranked in the top 12 at the running back position next year? Mike, are you ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, let's start with our current top 12 dynasty running backs. Per Bulletproof ADP, over the past month, these 12 running backs have been going off the board first. We have Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, and Ramondre Stevenson. So that's our top 12. I'm expecting a lot to be shaken up here over the next 12 months. The running back position is fickle, it is volatile, and a lot of these players are past the age apex. They're on that downward curve. I think we could see a lot of changes. I'm going to do my best here to make a prediction for next year, June of 2024, and then I just want to hear what you think. Kind of give me your thoughts. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? So here we go, top 12. I'll try to put it on the screen where you guys can see it because a lot of names. We've got Bijan Robinson holding down that RB1 spot, followed by Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey. The rookie RB1, I'm going to say Travion Henderson for now. That's who I hear is the presumptive RB1. That's who I think is going to be in that spot. Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker. Rookie RB2, Raheem Sanders seems like the favorite at the moment for that spot. Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, Saquon Barkley, and closing it out with Tony Pollard. Mike, what do you think about that list?
I think it's pretty good. So let's start off with the rookies, and because I haven't really scouted them too much, I'm going to assume that there's actually 3 rookies in the top 12, and I'll get to why in a minute, but it has to do with the age apex of some of the other guys you mentioned. The top 4 you mentioned, Bijan, Hall, Gibbs, and Taylor, they're automatically in. There's really no way they could tear their ACLs now and they'd still be in. I think Christian McCaffrey will still be in. The fact that Austin Eckler is a top 12 back this year means that McCaffrey will be one next year. Then we get to the range of Etienne and Walker. I could see especially Etienne dropping out if he's going to split the job with Bigsby, but I am a believer in him, so I'll keep those 2 guys in. So now it comes to the real differentiation I have, which is Tony Pollard and Saquon Barkley. The reason is both of those guys will be over 27 entering next year. Saquon Barkley has not really had a peak season. He hasn't gone above 18 points a game since his rookie year, which is a bit of a concern. So I think that Saquon is probably going to have a low-end RB1 year this year and going to drop out of the top 12. And I think Tony Pollard will as well. I think he's going to have a better year than Saquon, but he'll be 27. And I think the Cowboys are going to either sign or draft a running back next year and kind of put Pollard back in that 1B role. So those would be the 2 guys I would take out of your top 12. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I have to replace them. I'm going to put in an RB3 from the rookie class. I think there's a lot of room for rookie running backs to get into this top 12, given the fact that the 2020 class wasn't very good. And I'm going to put Javonte Williams in there. I think he's going to come back, play really well, coming back from the injury. I think that offense is going to take a big step up this year. I think there's going to be a lot of splits like last 10 weeks of the season, Javonte averaged 15 points a game. He was 3rd among running backs and targets. I think he's going to have a similar second half of the year to what Ramondre had last year, and I think that's going to put him in the top 12.
I think that's a sharp call. I had a lot of trouble towards the back end of these rankings.
Yeah.
I did this similar exercise with wide receivers a few episodes back. It was much easier. With running backs, it's so hard because it's so predicated on what they're going to do this season and then what's going to change around them in the offseason. So it's very difficult. I think Barkley and Pollard are definitely right on that fringe, and it's going to depend on the other running backs, either rookies or younger guys really establishing themselves. So I think Javonte makes sense if he can come on strong down the stretch. I do think there's room for more rookies. I just haven't scouted the class extensively, so I don't know which guys. And we also never know with the draft capital. Like I thought Kenneth Gainwell was going to be a 2nd round pick the year before he got drafted in the 5th round. So I never know what's going to happen, but I feel confident we're going to see at least 2 crack into that top 12 because after the big 4 plus kind of McCaffrey, assuming he doesn't get hurt, it's wide open. Like ETN and Walker are kind of there by default because they're still fairly young. They have, good pedigrees. They're in good offenses. But I'm not going to be excited about them in this range next year. I'm not even excited about them in that range right now. And they're a year younger than they're going to be next year. So this game tells me that I want to be investing in that high end running back. Otherwise, I kind of want to just be tearing down. And I want to maybe consider if I'm riding out someone like a Pollard, a Stevenson, Jacobs later in the season. Obviously, if I'm not in contention, I'm selling those guys. But even if I am, maybe considering tearing down into an older running back that's producing similarly and picking something up, or if I have a lot of excess value in my roster, just trying to get out early without hurting my chances too much, because I don't know. It's rough trying to project these guys to hold their value for a full year.
Yeah, no, it is. I feel a little bit differently about selling those guys. I almost view it the other way, where because the running back position is so weak, a guy like Ramondre Stevenson can maintain his value year over year. If I'm contending, obviously, if you're not contending, I would sell those guys. But who out of this top 12 or maybe top 14, 15 do you think could enter the top 12 next season?
So I will answer that in just a second. I think you actually made a good point. I may have actually misspoken. My brain, as you were saying that, I was like, no, you're actually right. Like the fact that a lot of these guys are still in my top 12 is actually a good thing for them. Yeah. So disregard what Mike said is correct. You can ride out someone like a Ramondre or a Josh Jacobs. If they're providing RB1 production, they probably will be still sitting in that fourth, fifth round of startups next year. And what you've actually done is you've just acquired a free year without losing any value. So that's the correct take. I definitely misspoke. As far as someone outside of the top 12 to 14, I think we're going to disagree here. And I don't even necessarily agree that this would be right, but I do think J.K. Dobbins has a path to stealing one of these last spots. It's going to be kind of a narrow path, which is Todd Monken implements a much more pass-heavy offense that does involve Dobbins playing more as a receiver. Basically, he has to become a 3-down back. Now, I think Gus Edwards and Justice Hill are pretty uninspiring competition. I feel like Dobbins it's really, if Dobbins can do it, I think he's going to be used that way. But basically, you need this offense to take a huge leap forward. You're going to need Dobbins to get in that double-digit touchdown range, and he'll have to probably catch 30 to 40 passes. But if all of that happens, he's only 40 days older than Travis Etienne. He's not an old running back. He's still under 25 years old. And so I think he does have a chance to jump into the kind of zone you see Tony Pollard and Ramondre Stevenson in right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. I could definitely see him getting to that lower end of the top 12. And Dobbins did show some receiving capability in college. He averaged about 2 receptions a game at Ohio State. So there's at least some availability there. The other name I'm going to throw out, which is a bit more of a long shot and not even a guy I'm particularly high on, is Kendra Miller. Now, there's a lot of ifs here. However, I could see Kendra Miller walking into at least, maybe not June, but in late April, being the RB1 for the Saints. If he has a good second half of the year, he's only 21 years old right now. He could enter his age 22 season as the potential RB1 for that offense. That alone might lift him into this top 12. Otherwise, guys like Rachaad White and Devon Achane, I have some hope for, but really all of this discussion just continues to tell me that guys like Pollard and Ramondre and Jacobs, and even guys like Etienne and Walker are safer than we think, because there's not anyone really coming to take their spot in this top 12.
Yeah, that is a great point. That's a really interesting one. I love the call. It's crazy to think that could be possible, but honestly, it genuinely is, because of how fickle the position is and how few real breakout opportunities we really are going to see from it over this next year. So that's an interesting one. I think Rachaad White is an interesting one as well. Probably not likely, but again, not a lot of these guys are likely to make the jump. Really, if you're talking about a not established running back, you're looking at a rookie. Otherwise, it's just not likely that any of these players are going to give you that type of upside, because they probably would have shown it more in their rookie seasons or in their first 2 seasons. So yeah, that is an interesting exercise. I think it does kind of inform the strategy a little bit. Like if you're not getting one of these top current top 12 guys, you probably want to just pay down because you're not likely to be missing out on any kind of massive value accrual. Whereas with wide receivers, I feel like there's a lot more guys in that kind of middle tier where if things break right, they could make a big jump, like a Quentin Johnson or a Jordan Addison or a Christian Watson, those kind of guys. I'm not really seeing an equivalent at the running back position.
Yeah, I mean, there's even guys like George Pickens and Zay Flowers who are outside of my top 30 wide receivers who could easily get in the top 12, and that just doesn't exist at running back, right? Like, we're not going to see AJ Dillon getting into the top 12.
Exactly. Well, this has been a great segment. I appreciate your thoughts on my top 12. It'll be cool to revisit this a year from now and see just how wrong I was. But Mike, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been awesome. We'll have to do it again. And let me know if I can hop back on this Zoltan podcast. I'm willing anytime.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on here. Would love you back on the Dynasty Zoltan podcast whenever.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you guys next time.